Once upon a time, in a small village, the Zhao family was known as one of the few wealthy families. Mr. and Mrs. Zhao tried for many years to have a child, but were unsuccessful. It wasn't until they were older that they were finally blessed with a son. Now, their son was 6 years old, a lively and smart boy. The Zhao family loved him dearly and treated him like their most precious treasure. But one day, misfortune quietly crept into their happy home. It was a gray and gloomy day when Mr. and Mrs. Zhao had to leave home to take care of some business, leaving their son alone to play. The boy was wandering around the house when he found an old red umbrella. It was made of oil paper, with some strange, incomprehensible symbols drawn on it. Out of curiosity, the boy opened the umbrella, and with a snap, the red paper unfolded. Suddenly, it was as if the boy had changed into a different person. His bright eyes lost their spark, and he seemed dazed all day. Even worse, at night, he would strangely climb up to the roof beam to sleep. When Mr. and Mrs. Zhao returned home and saw their son in this condition, they panicked. They tried everything, taking him to the hospital, asking the village elders for help, but neither the doctors nor the villagers could find anything physically wrong with the boy. As their son's behavior became more and more strange, the Zhaos became increasingly desperate, losing sleep every night with worry. In the end, they decided to invite a respected shaman from a nearby village to take a look. The shaman was an old man over 60, wearing traditional robes that gave him an air of power and mystery. He entered the Zhao household, holding several incense sticks, and began his ritual in the courtyard. As the incense burned, it slowly took the form of 3 long and 2 short segments. When the shaman saw this, his face immediately darkened. He turned to the Zhao family and said, "The incense shows the fate. It is most feared to burn into a pattern of 3 long and 2 short segments. This is called coffin incense, which means someone wants to bring misfortune to your home." Hearing this, Mr. and Mrs. Zhao turned pale with fear. They only had one child and couldn't bear the thought of losing him. The shaman looked at their son and walked around the yard with a frown. After some time, he said, "Someone has tampered with the feng shui of your house, trying to make sure your family has no descendants." Mr. Zhao's heart sank as he quickly asked, "Master, I have always run a small business and never held grudges against anyone. Why would someone want to harm us?" As Mr. Zhao was speaking, his wife suddenly remembered something. She trembled as she said, "A while ago, we hired people to repair our roof, and a lame worker accidentally dropped a tile that almost hit our son. I was so angry at the time, worried about our boy, that I immediately told the contractor to fire that worker. The man begged, saying he had a family to feed, but I was furious and didn't listen. I even refused to pay him and drove him away." The shaman's eyes narrowed slightly as he spoke in a deep voice. "You should never have offended a lame craftsman. Your home has been cursed with Luban's curse." The mention of Luban's curse made Mr. and Mrs. Zhao even more frightened. They asked, confused, "Luban's curse? What is that?" The shaman sighed deeply and explained, "Luban's curse is an ancient form of witchcraft, said to have been created by Luban, the legendary carpenter, and passed down to craftsmen. It is used to take revenge on those who mistreat them. Those who practice Luban's curse are often missing something in life. Either they have no children or they are physically disabled. They use a cursed object to change the feng shui of a house, causing bad luck to the family. The way your son is now, it's clear that the craftsman held a grudge and secretly placed a curse on your home." Hearing this, the Zhao couple felt a chill run through them. Mr. Zhao knelt down and pleaded, "Master, please, you have to save my son. He is our only child. We cannot afford to lose him." The shaman nodded and said, "To break the curse, we must first find the cursed object." The shaman began to set up a ritual in the yard, gently hitting a straw figure with a willow branch while chanting. After a while, a wisp of smoke rose from the straw figure and floated towards a brick at the front door. The shaman's eyes lit up, and he pointed at the brick, saying, "The cursed object is buried beneath this. Quickly, dig it up." Mr. and Mrs. Zhao rushed to get tools and pried open the brick. After digging a few times, they uncovered a bundle wrapped in cloth. The shaman took the bundle and carefully opened it. Inside was an old, worn-out shoe, its sole thin and covered in dirt. The shaman looked at the shoe and sneered, "This is the craftsman's shoe. He buried it at your front door to ensure your family would have no descendants." He held the shoe above his head, chanted an incantation, and then smashed it with his fist. The shoe broke in two with a crack, and a puff of black smoke dispersed from it. "All right, the curse has been broken," the shaman said, breathing a sigh of relief and wiping the sweat from his forehead. He told Mr. and Mrs. Zhao, "Take this shoe, fry it in hot oil, and then bury it under a pomelo tree. Once that's done, the matter will be fully resolved." The Zhao couple was immensely relieved and thanked the shaman repeatedly. That same day, they followed his instructions, frying the shoe in hot oil and burying it beneath a pomelo tree at the edge of the village. The next morning, their son woke up, his eyes bright once again, full of life as they used to be. Mr. and Mrs. Zhao were overwhelmed with emotion, holding their son tightly, feeling their fears and worries finally melt away. From that day on, the Zhao family understood that one must not be too harsh or unkind. They learned to be more tolerant and understanding of others, always willing to help those in need. The villagers said that the Zhao family's feng shui had improved, and so had their hearts. As for the lame craftsman, he never appeared in the village again. No one knew where he had gone, but the Zhao couple always carried a sense of guilt and gratitude. It was because of this lesson that they truly understood the saying, "A kind family will always have good fortune."